all of you. Okay. Very good evening and namaskaram to and all of you. Chadurmukha Samarambham Vakbhadacharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam Ragadirogan Sadadanushaktan Asheshagaya Prasudan Asheshan Autsukyamोहारदिदान जखान यो पूर्व वैद्याय नमोस्तु तस्मै. My sincere gratitude to the team Ayur Tarang, who, like many other informal academies, emerged during the times of this pandemic for arranging huge bulk of academic activities. And many times I think the response that these programs are getting is quite amazing. Since the onset of the pandemic, there were n number of classes, n number of resource persons, and n number of topics. An unprecedented situation wherein the electronic media is literally overwhelmed by Ayurvedic contents. This has made the conventional academy, which is also operating in a similar mode these days, I mean the online platform, somewhat irrelevant. But for the university examinations and other formalities of regulations, the offline academy, when online is the norm, I think the other one is known as offline, that has become some old-fashioned way these days. But at the same time, it was quite a struggling time for the faculties as well, because the topics will be changing, contents will be changing, the viewers will be changing, and literally, when look back, I am just surprised. In the first year, 2020 of the COVID-19 pandemic, I had somewhat more than 100 sessions in 9 months' time. And there may be some other faculty members who might have done more than that. So now it has become quite a hectic, quite tedious to have classes regularly, and life is also almost back to normal. Clinical works, office, hospital, all these things. So still I wonder that there are seekers, there are takers for these sort of sessions. And today I'm supposed to talk something about Jwara from maybe a beginner's perspective, like Jwara Nidanam, Purvarupam, Samprapti, Samanya Chikitsa, etc., etc. I understand that there are sessions following in the following weekends or something like that, where Jwara will be discussed in detail with the specific topics like the Jwara of different types, their pathophysiology, their pathya, something like that. That is what I understand. That is also a matter of wonder, because it is true that the Jwara was considered in the academies as the most important Vyadhi. And all the teachers used to say to their students that if Jwara Chikitsa is understood properly and practiced properly, all other diseases can be practiced effectively. But Jwara was taught and learned in a different style. What I mean is, with the advent of many fast-acting antipyretic medicines brought to the fore by the Western medicine, the Jwara Chikitsa of Ayurveda became not so attractive. The charm of Ayurvedic Jwara Chikitsa came down drastically. Even the practitioners of Ayurveda thought that Jwara Chikitsa is becoming obsolete, and deep inside they were trying to come up with some effective formulations. Yoga, Aushadha Yoga. So Vaidyas becoming yogis, running after yogas, which can compete with the allopathic antipyretic medicines. And the so-called Shadaha Chikitsa or Dashaha Chikitsa, they were considered as part of history. Who is going to come to you to take a treatment for Jwara? Missing 6 days, 7 days or 10 days, taking leave from their regular works and following certain pathya nishchayam, like that. There is a story in Kerala that how the allopathic medicines or the system of medicine got its roots firmly established in the state. It was introduced as a system having no pathya nishkarsha. Let there be fever, you need not bother swallow one pill and need not bother about the pathya nishkarsha. And that is how the system intruded into the society effectively. Even the rulers were quite attracted. They were not depending the palace physicians, old-fashioned Vaidyas, for the treatment of fevers. And it was so quite cheap also. If you can treat your fever with maybe a pill which costs just 50 paise, or even much less than that at that times, who is going to consume the kashayam, gulika, you have to paste it, prepare kanji, like that. So that way, I think it was quite a difficult time for the Jara Chikitsa of Ayurveda. But interestingly, in recent times, maybe in the last 10 years or 15 years, I should say, when the viral infections started frequenting our society, along with the monsoons, onset of monsoons, in different names, like say chikungunya or dengue, or nameless viral fevers, anamika jaras. Then there was a crisis, because even though the santapam, temperature was managed with the conventional medicines like paracetamol, the jwarita, or the individual who was on the suffering end, had many symptoms remaining even after the resolution of the fever, and continuing for months together, sometimes years together. Then the old-fashioned Jara Chikitsa became relevant again. People started coming to Vaidyas to get treated for their various types of fevers. So that was a testing time for Vaidyas, because for years, many years, they were learning Jara Chikitsa, but they were not practicing Jara Chikitsa. And if at all they were practicing, that practice was purely drug-oriented, drug-based. They were looking for effective rasa preparations which can substitute paracetamol. Nothing else. But when paracetamol was failing the system, the practitioners, and the public started suffering with pain, joint deformities, swellings, fatigue, many other illnesses as a continuation of their fever episodes. We were forced to rethink about our strategy. It was not sufficient to go for or look for yoga. So Vaidyas could not act as yogis anymore. Then again, the textbooks were read in a new light. Applications were attempted in ground zero, and that was slowly making a big shift even in the society at large. Now, with the outbreak of this global pandemic, COVID-19, the scenario is changed again completely. We never thought that a time will come where all our infrastructure, medical infrastructure, sophisticated, state of the art, technology, unbelievably precise and sharp, all these things will have nothing to do. And the strong, powerful chemical agents, antibiotics, antivirals. So a day will come where a disease, forget about the mechanism behind it, a disease, that too a fever, will start playing with an establishment called medicine. And that happened. Literally, the system became stuck. And interestingly, everything was tried. Everything was tried. In different names. The establishment was trying to make it as scientific as possible, at least on papers. The concept of evidence-based medicine collapsed, literally. Because when you have an unprecedented episode of an infectious problem or a pandemic, how can you expect an evidence to place the first step? It's quite difficult. So, the practitioners, in a better word, each and every practitioner was literally forced to start acting, not waiting for the evidence. And from practice, we generated evidence. So from evidence-based practice, we were forced to have a shift to practice-based evidence. And still, there was nothing to do effectively. If we can believe the figures, the numbers, the land with the highest number of or the most sophisticated medical technology available in the world, in the earth, USA, faced casualties more in number than they had in the 1918-1920 Spanish flu, despite their dominance in the field. And there was nothing to do. There was nothing to do other than washing the hands, wearing the mask, and social distance. Interestingly, the Ayurvedic Vaidyas of the country started looking back to their basics. In different parts of the country, they were working in different groups, not connected, still emerged with a strategy to combat the situation of the pandemic, how to prevent, how to treat. It was an amazing scene to see that all these practitioners had some sort of a coherence of ideas, convergence of theoretical explanation. about the features of this problem. That was the beauty. That was the beauty of the philosophy called Ayurveda. And that changed the scenario completely. That was actually a game changer. It was giving hope to the public. Other than mask, soap, and social distancing, they have now something creative to do. There are some specific advices. You take these herbs. You do practice Nasyam every day. You do Gandusham with this. You do steam inhalation with these herbs. You take this kashayam. You take this powder. And you have something to do, enhance your Vyadhikshamatvam. So that was a game changer. And now I think, in spite of an organized resistance from different quarters of the establishment medicine, the scenario of Ayurvedic practice in the country changed completely. Despite the resistance, the society started approaching Ayurvedic Vaidya, sometimes directly or online or over phone, and started demanding for their share of Ayurvedic medicine, sometimes for prevention, sometimes for treatment, cure. And that worked. So now at this point of time, I think learning Jwara Chikitsa has a different level of meaning. It is not about a part of history. It is not about the beauty of the slogas in the text. It is not about the old-fashioned storytelling, but everything in the textbook, every part of the story, what we were considered as the history, has become relevant. Previously, if somebody was asked to take a leave from their regular job for a day when they are having a very bad fever, that fellow will be considered as a liar, as a lazy man who wants to escape from his daily duties. But we all know that rest is the best treatment for fever. Rest literally for everything in the body. Everything, including the digestive system. That is why we insist on fast your fever. But now, interestingly, you see that has become the norm. If you have, even you suspect a fever, you are compelled to take rest. That is how the things have changed. Of course, this is not going to sustain, we should remember. Because there are very serious efforts to come up with some synthetic molecule which can contain the symptoms, at least temporarily, a new molecule, a new business potential. And with the advent of such a synthetic molecule, of course, the things may change. And that makes the responsibility of Vaidyas in the country more heavy, more burdening, and more demanding. So with this concept in the outset, I will try to say something about something like an introduction to the Jwara Chikitsa, or Jwara, I should say. So it covers the basic things, the Purva Rupa. I think I will not go through the entire textbook in this context, even though that is important. Because I know that many times the participants of the webinars, they come with a presumption that there will be something ready rakana, which they can use from the very next day onwards in their clinics. But I don't believe so. There are no shortcuts to become effective clinicians. Because if you want to treat with Ayurvedic principles, there are no shortcuts. Because you have to see, or you have to consider, you have to engage with every patient independently in a highly customized manner, in a highly personalized manner. No excuse, no other way. So even though there are attempts to create protocols for Ayurvedic treatment nationwide, I think that is going to handicap the system, an utter handicap. Because the beauty of Ayurvedic treatment is that it is so personalized. And as practitioners, we should have an understanding